Right. So we got doubting Thomas here. Perfect. I always feel sorry for Thomas in the Bible because he's left with this rubbish nickname, isn't it? Doubting Thomas. He only did one doubt. Earlier in the Bible he goes, yeah, Jesus, let's go, but we may die with you as well. He's not like hero Thomas or courageous Thomas. It's just one little doubt. And they gave him that name. The Bible doesn't give him that name, by the way. I don't know, I think it was the church in general just gave him that name. How horrible. I mean, you know, Hannah, it's late sometimes. We don't call her late Hannah.
I think we do now.
Yeah, Martin insists that the microphone leads in a certain way. We don't call him Insistent Martin. It's like, poor old Thomas, he really had a bad time, didn't it? You know, just one little... I'll give you this advice, never make a mistake again. in case someone writes about you and they call you One Mistake Tina or something. It's like, Tina never made a mistake. So anyway, it says Jesus appears to Thomas, not doubting Thomas. Thomas, also called Didymus. I mean, actually, it's better than that. If I was called Didymus, you'd go with that. I wouldn't mind being called Doubting. They call me Doubting Thomas. Now Thomas, also called Didymus, there you are. One of the 12 was not with the disciples when Jesus came, but then he went to see them. There you go, see them now. And the other disciples told him, "We've seen the Lord." Say it.
We've seen the Lord.
Right, some of you didn't look very excited about that. I want you to think this one through. Jesus, right? Jesus has just been crucified, dead, and buried. You loved him. You spent 3 years with him. He was your very best friend, your teacher, and they killed him. And then he's appeared to you again. And you're telling Thomas this. You're a bit excited, okay? So, the other disciples told Thomas, but Thomas says, unless I see the nail marks in his hands.
Unless I see the nail marks in his hands.
I put my finger where the nails were.
I put my finger where the nails are.
I put my hand into his side.
I put my hand into his side.
I will not believe it.
I will not believe it. I will doubt it.
Right, grab a seat because you're with the disciples now. A week later, the disciples were in the house again, and Didymus was with them. Now, even though the doors were locked, Jesus came and stood among them. And he said, "Peace be with you." Then he turned to Thomas. Right, sit on your seat, that's it. He turned to Thomas and he said, "Thomas, put your finger here."
Thomas, put your finger here.
"See my hands."
See my hands.
"Reach out your hand and put it into my side." Stop doubting and believe.
Stop doubting and believe.
Thomas said to him, "My Lord and my God." My Lord and my God.
My Lord and my God.
Now say it like you really, come on, this is an amazing moment for you.
My Lord and my God.
Yeah, that was good. Then Jesus, I'll say this to you, you can act it out. Jesus told him, "Because you have seen me, you have believed. But blessed are those who have not seen and have yet believed."
Be blessed.
I'll give him a clap, that's fantastic. I'm going to leave you with one thought before we go to Sunday Fun Day and things. Blessed are those who have not seen and yet believed. We fall into that category. And that is what we're going to be thinking about this morning. We've not seen, but yet we're asked to believe. And that's what we're going to be thinking about. So, right, this is what we've just talked about twice now at the end of the children's video and at the end of that amazing drama. Thank you, Didymus and Cast. Is the words that Jesus said, "Blessed are those who have not seen and yet believe." And like I say, we fall into that category of people who've not seen. Well, I'm assuming we haven't actually seen Jesus. If you have, then that's all right, speak to us afterwards. Get testimony on the wall. But most of us haven't. Blessed are those who have not seen and yet believe. And most of us aren't going to see Jesus in this lifetime. Unless we have an amazing miracle, or he does come again before we die, in which case we'll be caught up with him in the air, and we will see him. The Bible tells us that. So some amazing things promised. But as far as day-to-day goes, we're not going to see Jesus. But he still wants us to be blessed. This is the thing. We've not seen the risen Christ, yet we believe. And what I've done in the Bible study notes, if you've got them, I just want to almost put the case for believing. Now, if we believe already, that's all right, because if our case is stronger, then when people talk to us, we can actually back it up. And it's good to be able to back up what we believe. It's good to not be accused of believing a fairy tale, because that has been levelled at me before, that you're believing a fairy tale. But that's not the case. And also, and I just want to explain why that's not the case. And I'll put a few things on the Bible study notes here, which you can look at in your own time. I put my favourite cartoon on there. I love the two bunnies talking to each other. One's just had his ears eaten off. Chocolate bunnies. How pleased with what? I love that. But it's reasons to believe. That's what's on here. And really, just looking at some of these, is our faith blind faith, or is it reasonable? Well, first of all, number one, the crucifixion of Jesus was a historical event. It's as much history as any other event in history around that time. It's in historical books. It's not just in the Bible. Secondly, when it comes to the resurrection, there's a quote here from a leading lawyer, and he says, "As a lawyer, I've made a prolonged study of the evidences for the events of the Thursdays today. To me, the evidence is conclusive, and over again in the High Court, I've secured the verdict on evidence not nearly so compelling." So here's a lawyer. He says I'll put people down, basically, for evidence when there's a lot less evidence than there is for the resurrection. He's saying that there's a whole load of evidence. And I just want us to think about it this morning. We put the Roman and Jewish people, because between them it's the Romans and the Jewish religious leaders who crucified Jesus. And the last thing they wanted is for his body to disappear. They did not want that, because they knew what he'd said. They knew he said he was going to rise from the dead, and they didn't quite believe it, but they knew that if his body disappeared, his followers might have something to start a religion off. So they put his body in a tomb. I've done the research. They would have put a 2-stone boulder in front of it. They would have sealed it with a Roman seal, and they put top guards in front of it. Now, people going around saying that oh yeah, Jesus didn't actually die on the cross. He was flogged to the point of death. He carried his cross. He was nailed to it. He hung there, and he didn't actually die. Okay, let's imagine that was the case, which is impossible because they were professional executioners. But let's imagine that was the case. Could he then, in his half-dead state, have pushed that stone and taken on 16 amazing crack Roman guards? Or could I say from the other point of view, would 12 very scared followers who'd seen their Lord crucified, would they dare to start to step out and say, oh yeah, he's risen again, because they knew what was going to happen if they did that? Would you die for a lie?
No.
I don't think anybody in their right mind would die for a lie. Yet for the truth, a lot of people would. Do you know, the disciples trying to steal the body, here's the tomb here, huge great boulder. Imagine that they'd have legions of Romans guarding it, so imagine all you lot are guarding it, right? Let's just play this one out. Huge great boulder, imagine this, can you see it?
Yeah.
It's 2 tons. Alright, I'm just going to see if I can move it.
It's 2 stone, isn't it?
I can't budge this. It won't move. Won't move. Right. I'm just going to. Now, so there's a boulder here, and you've got to. You're guarding it, right? Okay, so boulder, you're guarding it. Now let's just imagine that they did get Jesus out of this. Okay, so I've got to get Jesus out of here. But if you see me trying to, you've got to say something. All right, so what's that over there? Hello, Rafi. He's a lovely little boy, aren't you? You lovely little boy. Everyone say hello, Rafi.
You can move them up anyway.
I'm going to use it as a lever.
Arrest him!
I'm not there.
Arrest him!
Let him off the floor first, then arrest him.
I'm going stealth now.
Stop it! Somebody down! Stop it!
It's impossible, isn't it? You just can't do it. You know, there's no way I could get away with doing that. I couldn't even move the thing. If I did, I wouldn't get past you. It's just something to think about. It was so hard to actually do that. And yeah, even if you did, even if I managed that, I wouldn't die for the lie. You would only die for the truth. And there's various other things on there as well. On the notes I put about a book. If you want to read this book, go ahead and read it. Frank Morrison, he's another lawyer. He set out to prove that Jesus didn't rise from the dead. That was what his book was going to be about. Who moved the stone? He did write a book, Who Moved the Stone, but it ended up being a book about why Jesus did rise from the dead, because the evidence he found when he looked into it was overwhelming in case of he did. No, he didn't. So basically it's a case of, if you want to bury your head in the sand and not believe, that's okay. But if you want to take a look at the evidence, it's believable. And that's what I love about Christianity. It's not a fairy story, it's based on historical events, it's based on logic, it's based on truth. People say to me, how can you be a science teacher and a Christian? I say, that's easy. Because as a scientist, I'm always looking for the most logical conclusion. I came to faith basically based on logic. It was logical to me that God existed. I then took the next stage of logic. I thought, God is so amazing. He's up there. His goodness is up there. I could try and get to him. I've got to get to the ceiling. I have to do some James Bond stuff. Maybe if I can just grab hold of that. I'm going to go for it, actually. If I can just grab hold of that thing there.
Just broke your nose.
And I can get to God. Here we go. So, my next logical statement is, I can't get to God through my own good works. I can't do it.
Yeah.
Hey, but there is a religion called Christianity whose God came down to earth. I don't have to try and get to him. When he's out of my reach, he comes down to me. He came down to earth. And then this Christianity says that my God died on the cross to take away my sins, so that I've got access to him. How amazing is that, and how logical is that? Because there's no other way to God. You can't just get to God. It's like out of reach. His goodness, His holiness is out of reach as far as we're concerned, unless He does something about it. It doesn't matter how many times a day I bow down and prostrate myself before Him. If I'm still carrying my sin, I can't get to Him. So Christianity is such a logical faith. It's absolutely built on logic. And that's why I like it. It's not some sort of fairy tale that just weak people believe in. It's for logical people. And then the fantastic thing is, our God, because He's come down, because He's died on the cross, because He's risen again from the dead, and He's removed our sins as far as the east is from the west, this means that through Jesus Christ, who's done all that, God's Son has done all that, it means He is only one prayer away. One single prayer away. There's nothing else. We don't have to sacrifice bulls and lambs and pigeons to get to God. It's one single prayer away. That's it. It's as easy as that. I love Christianity because it says that God, God's logical, God did exist, and God's accessible. He's logical, He's accessible. And the Bible passage ends here. It ends saying, these things are written that you may believe that Jesus is the Christ, the Son of God. So it's all written so that we can believe.
Yeah.
It's written in logically so we can believe. Luke wrote a lot of it. He was a doctor. He wrote logically so we can believe. These things are written so that you may believe that Jesus is the Christ, the Son of God, and I love this because we've been talking about being equipped for life, and by believing you might have life in His name. Fantastic. When He rose from the dead, kaboom, life. Life. And now He's saying, us, blessed are us who haven't seen and yet believe, because by believing we've got life in His name. It talks, John 10:10, life in all its fullness, life in His name. And that is available to us logically and accessibly. One prayer. Life, the fullness of life in His wonderful name. It's absolutely wonderful. It is such good news. Why am I stood in a building saying it? I don't know, I should be out there saying it. Do you know what I mean? And we are out there, we go out with good news, and it's in here, we carry it with us where we go. And it's just fantastic. I'm kind of going to stop there because I'm kind of so overwhelmed that I think I'm about to burst. And that wouldn't be very pretty. So I'm just going to reiterate what we said here. That Christianity is logical. Amen. Jesus and everything He's done has made God accessible. He is only one prayer away. And He says these things are written so that you might believe and have life in His name. That's life in this life and life eternal. Forever. In His name. He's saying a guarantee of heaven and a guarantee of life in this life. Life. Life in all its forms, whatever form you want it in. Life. Life, 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 life. Alive in His name.
Amen.
That's the good news. I'm sorry if I get a bit excited about it. But it's good news. Whichever way I look at it, from that angle it's good news. From that angle it's good news. It's good news. It's good news. It's just good news, isn't it? And Easter is great news, and every day is Easter Day. Wow. I'm going to pray. I'd just like you to join me.